Multiple sclerosis may challenge your sense of self at times, but asserting your personal style can be a powerful way to reclaim your identity. Welcome to Ask an MS Expert. I'm John Strum, your moderator and host of the Real Talk MS podcast. Each week, Real Talk MS reaches thousands of people in more than 100 countries around the world with news that people affected by MS need to know. My wife, Jean, lived with progressive MS for 23 years. So I've had a front row seat experiencing all the ways that MS can impact a family. Today, I'll be asking our expert the questions you want answered. Please feel free to post your comments and questions on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. MS Navigators will be online throughout today's live program, answering your questions and connecting you to resources. Style is typically defined as an individual's way of expressing themselves, but it can sometimes be challenging for individuals with MS to find creative, comfortable, and accessible ways to express themselves through their clothing, accessories, hairstyles, and even their customized mobility aids. Jeri Zink Denz lives with MS, and she's joining us today to discuss how she approaches finding her personal style. Jeri works in the luxury fashion industry, supporting her company's marketing and events, and she's always been passionate about the fashion industry and personal style. Welcome, Jeri. Thanks for being with us today.
Oops. Hi, John. Sorry, quick technical difficulty. Thanks for having me.
Well, I hope you'll start us off by sharing a little bit about yourself and your career in the luxury fashion space and explaining how you define personal style.
Yeah, so my name's Jeri. I live in Chicago, originally from Michigan, so split my time now between Chicago and Detroit. I work in fashion, in client marketing and events. I started my career actually in hospitality, and then I did marketing for a professional sports arena before getting into fashion in 2018. I was actually diagnosed with MS on Valentine's Day of 2023 after many years of different neurological episodes that led to my diagnosis. As far as personal style, what defines personal style? I just think fashion is art, and you have the ability to really bring your art to the world, and it's often the first thing people notice when they meet you. It's who you are, and personal style for me is it's just happiness. It's putting on something that really makes you happy. Like that's your personal style.
I'm so glad you said that. There's an old saying that you are what you wear. And the,
Yeah.
and the term dopamine dressing refers to dressing in a way that boosts your mood and makes you feel good. Can you share some examples of how your choices of clothing and accessories boost your mood?
Yeah, so I think dopamine dressing is, something that you put on that just gives you that wave of happiness, right? It's like that instant boost, something that you love. I think you need to find what that is for you. That could be a great leather jacket. If you collect sneakers, it could be, collecting Jordans or getting the newest Adidas, whether that's Sambas or Gazelles. It can be all different things. It could be jewelry. It's whatever gives you, that happiness. For me specifically, it's vintage clothing. So I grew up loving history in school. A funny story, I actually took extra history classes in college because I loved it so much, and I've seen that love for history translate into fashion for me. So with vintage, studying the designers of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, who were the creative directors of the different houses, what was the story behind their inspiration in their life. I often am all over the internet just hunting for pieces. And when I score a piece from like an era, actually, the jacket I'm wearing today is from 1990. From a French brand. So this is something that I scoured the internet for. And as soon as I hit purchase, it's like an instant rush of dopamine for me. Like I accomplished something. So that's what it is for me. But I really feel like it can be anything that makes you happy that you're finding or putting on.
It sounds like for you, the hunt is as rewarding as actually finding that piece in the end.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably the thrill of the chase and then, tracking it down. But it's I don't know. I feel like I have a closet full of like little pieces of history. So it's pretty cool.
So, as someone who may be watching decides to embark on their hunt, what should they
Mhm.
keep in mind when it comes to choosing clothing to enhance that personal style while also feeling confident and comfortable?
Yeah, I would say pay attention to what you feel good in. What, just like we talked about with the dopamine, I think there's certain pieces, whether it's like a great black dress, a collared shirt, a sweater, like think about what you feel your best in and don't feel pressured to change that. So there's a lot of trends, whether it's within the fashion industry or on social media that are all over in your face all the time. And I know often you can just feel the pressure that you have to conform to whatever you're seeing online. I don't believe that. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Let's say you love black blazers. You can try different variations. So you could do oversized, you could do a 3/4 sleeve, you could do something a little bit more cropped. So it's really finding what works for your style, and then you can transition out of that, but don't feel pressured to do what everyone else is doing.
We heard from Peter, who tells us that he lives with MS, and like a lot of people with MS, he experiences symptoms of depression.
Mhm.
Peter says he tends to dress in oversized clothes, either in black or shades of gray, and he feels self conscious about his appearance. So, why might it be a good idea for Peter to consider adding some color to his wardrobe instead of always dressing in black or shades of gray?
Yeah, so if Peter was here, I would tell him, don't be ashamed of wearing black. I would say definitely in my industry, a lot of us wear black all the time. I've worked for different brands where I had to wear black every day. So it is something that can make everyone look chic and put together. But I do believe when you're in maybe a bad place mentally and you want to brighten up your life in general, I get that. I get why putting, all black on may make you feel not too great or not too warm and fuzzy. So my advice would be start small. So for example, when you think of black, it's a really dark tone. What other colors kind of live in that darker tone? So think of dark burgundies, navy, like a really deep evergreen is really pretty. So maybe don't dive into, the neon yellows, but try different darker colors first. So let's say you started with a dark green, like an evergreen or an emerald. Okay, if you feel good in green, what is the next green you're going to try? Is that something a little lighter? Are you going to go all the way to like a sage green? So I would stay in those dark colors and then kind of gradually go lighter and lighter once you find a color that you feel really good in.
Charlie says they are thinking about cutting their hair short and adding some vibrant color to express their personality. How might hair color or style impact someone's identity and self image?
Yeah, this is a great question. So I actually just chopped my hair off. I had really long hair, and at first it was so liberating and I was so excited to cut my hair and like do something different. And then probably a month in, I started to get a little self-conscious that like I wasn't myself. I miss my long hair, you have all different kinds of thoughts that are like, I'm prettier with long hair, all of those things. I think your brain can trick you even if something looks good. I would just think it over. I think if you're someone like, if you know you do well with change and you want to try something different, go for it. I think if you're someone that gets really attached to certain things or how you look, then maybe just think about it. Okay, I want this now, but if am I gonna love it in 6 months from now, or am I gonna wish my hair would grow? I think, with hair color, you can kind of change it back if you don't like it. With cutting your hair, you can get extensions, and extend your hair that way. But if you don't want to do extensions, it's a pretty big commitment until your hair grows back, and mine goes really slow. So this is a longer commitment for me.
Jeff says he's been living with MS for about 20 years and he feels like his style has gotten stuck in the past. before MS became such a big part of his life. He hasn't updated his wardrobe or his look for years due to the challenges he faces living with his MS symptoms. So, how can Jeff rediscover his personal style and find a look that's going to work for his lifestyle and his abilities?
Yeah, so I think a great place to start, especially for like a male wardrobe, is a capsule wardrobe. And what I mean by capsule wardrobe are those staple pieces that you can interchange and make all different outfits with. So a great example would be a good pair of jeans, perhaps a pair of trousers that are a little bit dressier. I would do a white t-shirt, navy t-shirt, black t-shirt, and then perhaps like a couple collared shirts, a blazer, and a sweater. So you have under 10 items that you can interchange and make all different outfits. And that's a lot. I talk fast. There's a lot of items that I said, but the best way is if you go on social media and you're on TikTok or you're on Instagram and you just search like a men's capsule wardrobe, every different variation of that and all different examples and price points come up. I think, social media, can be used for a lot of good and a lot of good information and a lot of inspiration. So I would encourage him to do a little bit of research and just start with those basics to get back into, his personal style.
Raya says she lives with MS and she relies on her husband to help her with dressing, hairstyling, and makeup. She's wondering whether there are beauty brands that offer innovative options to support individuals with disabilities.
Yeah, so I actually researched a couple. There is a nail polish brand that I love and I use called Olive and June, and I actually didn't even know that they were an accessible beauty brand until I started just, exploring more, especially after my diagnosis. And their I guess lid that you would paint your nails with, it's called, I wrote it down, let me look. It's called their poppy handle. It just helps you keep a steady hand while you're painting and it's easier to hold. Another one is Guide Beauty. So they also, their tools have better grips and they're easier to hold when you're doing your makeup. Some advice that I would give, often there's people around you that are really skilled at doing hair and makeup. For me, it's my sister. I am not the best at doing my own hair or my own makeup, and I can always count on my little sister to make me look and feel great. So if you have anyone, within your support system, I would recommend just asking. I think the hardest thing for me after my diagnosis was saying I needed help with anything. I'm always the person that's like, no, I want to do it myself. But sometimes there's people around you that, can really help you and make you feel great, and you just have to ask. One more thing I want to add that I noticed, local hair salons I've been seeing are doing classes for spouses and parents. So perhaps, for a husband that has to help his wife, with her hair and makeup, there are local salons that offer classes, or for dads that want to do their daughter's hair. So that's a really good thing to look into. Actually, a salon in Detroit called Salon 6 that I've went to for 20 years, they often do those classes. So I would encourage anyone listening that's wondering about that, just to Google what's happening in your area.
Chloe is 20 years old and lives with MS. She lives with her mother, who assists Chloe in a number of different activities. And Chloe's mom tends to influence Chloe's style by buying her clothes and styling her hair in ways that she thinks makes Chloe look nice. Chloe wants to make some changes to her look, but her mother's influence makes it difficult for her to look the way she'd like. What advice do you have for Chloe?
That's a tough one. I think all family dynamics are different. So I can only speak from my experience, but if it was my mom, I would probably sit her down and just have a really honest, transparent conversation. I think something that, I've struggled with since my diagnosis is my family, they don't understand. They're not in my body, they're not in my brain, they're not feeling what I'm feeling on a daily basis. I can tell them but they're not living it, right? And I think we often feel controlled by this disease. Every day when I wake up, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do today? And is it going to make my MS better or worse? So you often feel like this disease can control a lot of your life, and you don't want to be controlled by anyone else, even, your own mom. So I just think a transparent and honest conversation with mom, letting her know how you feel, you appreciate, what she's doing by, buying you clothes and trying to help, but honesty is always the best policy, and I would just do that and see how she responds.
Brandy lives with MS, and she shares that she struggles with dexterity and can't really manage jewelry with hooks or clasps. What options are available so Brandy can include jewelry and other accessories to complete her look?
Yeah, so I think a good place to start, long necklaces that you can layer that don't have a clasp. Like there's quite a few that just slip over your head. All different brands have longer necklaces for layering. When I think about bracelets, like cuffs that just snap right on to your wrist, whether that's like a gold cuff or silver or, more costume jewelry, that's like a plastic. Another great one is elastic bracelets. So there's a company called the Little Words Project. So all of their bracelets are beaded and stretchy. And I love them because they have words of inspiration on them. So I am a high anxiety, go 100 miles an hour person. I have one that just says breathe that I wear, and I look at it and it reminds me to just take a deep breath. But they're a really cool company and they have all different words of inspiration. Another one is for earrings. Sometimes earrings are hard to get on. You can do clip-on earrings. Even a lot of high-end designers, their earrings are clip-on. You can go on like an Amazon. There's all different options for clip-on earrings. I don't love clip-on earrings because they tend to hurt my ears after wearing them for a long time, but there are some people that don't mind them at all, and they are much easier to get on.
Getting out of the house, whether it's for everyday activities or special outings, means having a handbag to carry all those important things you want to keep with you. What are some stylish and accessible bags that someone living with MS can use?
Yeah, so I think for handbags, especially like if you are utilizing a wheelchair, a crossbody handbag is the best. So something that goes across your chest that you can easily reach into, grab things, put stuff in your bag, get your wallet. I find that's the best option. They're usually easier to get on and off. They have adjustable straps. So if you want it tighter to your body, so the strap isn't hanging behind you, I think that is amazing and they look great. All different designers of all different price points, no matter where you shop, if you buy new, buy vintage, make crossbody bags. So that's my go-to style. And I think they are a little bit more accessible. There are a lot of adaptable brands out there that hook to the back of wheelchairs, or they're easier to get on. And what I would say is once you find a brand that you love, then you can, think about the fashion of it. What's your favorite color? Is it a cool pattern? Does it go with your outfits? And kind of build it into your personal style.
Well, since you just mentioned wheelchairs, let's talk about bringing some style to mobility aids.
Mhm.
How might customizing a mobility aid help someone express their style and boost their confidence? And it'll be a two-part question. Are there mobility aids that offer customizable features to make them look more stylish?
Yes. So, two parts to the question. So the first part, I think it's a part of your appearance. It's something that you have with you every day. Like, why not work it into your outfit, whether that's with a custom pattern, a specific color. I saw some that were acrylic with like glitter in them. I've seen ones where you can customize them, and put pictures of your pet, your kids, your family. There are quite a few different companies online. And if you do a quick Google search, and also I've seen on social media, all different customizations of mobility aids. I think what I see the most is leaning more into color, like getting one that is your favorite color. You can also get one if you want it to be more classic. If you're someone that dresses in, more classic silhouettes or classic colors like black or cream or chocolate brown, you could translate that into your mobility aid and also get a really sleek, simple, classic color as well. And every time I just think of Selma Blair on the red carpet and a flowing gown with her, black cane, and it just looks like it's a part of the whole look, and she looks so chic. So lots of options out there, and yes, I would, get something that you're excited about.
Sam lives with MS and uses a wheelchair. For Sam, clothing and style are more about choosing items that are easy to put on and take off.
Mhm.
Sam also tries to choose items that look the most flattering while he's in his wheelchair.
Mhm.
What advice would you offer to Sam to find a balance between fashion and functionality?
Well, I think I would start with functionality. You have to be comfortable all day, and then think about the fashion of it. So think about the color, maybe a trend that you're trying. What accessories are you mixing in with your outfit? But I feel like I'm all about comfort. Like I don't like wearing outfits that are uncomfortable. You'll rarely see me in heels. I'm loafers and sneakers, and I want to feel good. I don't want to add any more pain to experience, or sometimes you put on a really heavy boot, it makes your feet go numb. I'm like, well, my left leg's already numb most of the day. So I try not to add to what I'm already experiencing. And I think you can be comfortable and still look really good with clothes that are oversized. I love clothes that are oversized, and I love wearing layers. I think that's true fashion. I saw a quote, it's not about showing yourself, it's about showing the clothes. So sometimes, it's like the more clothes the better, the more layers. I love it. So I think you can be functional, be fashionable, and don't feel bad about wearing something oversized or multiple layers, because chances are you look really chic.
The financial impact of living with MS can create challenges in so many different aspects of life. Rebecca wants to update her wardrobe and her style, but she's on a fixed income with a limited budget. Can you suggest some budget friendly ways for someone to update their personal style?
Yeah, so I think this was the biggest thing for me when I got diagnosed. You just think, oh, my health insurance will cover it. And when I first got diagnosed, I had different health insurance that I have now, and my MS drug is over $120,000 a year, and my insurance did not cover it. So, it was a constant like panic of how am I going to cover this, or, what are my options? And there are some great options out there, but it's still very stressful, like financially, having this disease. And then I also think once you get this disease, you're instantly like, how do I be healthier? How do I eat healthier? How do I get more massages? How do I go to PT? How do I do all of these things that make me feel better with my disease? So that one hits home because it was a big shock when I found out how expensive this disease was. And my advice would be, because your health comes first. So whatever that entails, financially, that should come before your personal style. And there's lots of great options out there. So whether, all these things that we see in fashion, whether it's something walking the runway, it all filters into different stores and different levels. So that can be something that's in a high-end store at a higher price point. You could see the same silhouette in the same color at your local Target, or somewhere like an H&M or like fast fashion. So you usually see the trends that we see on social media or in the industry. You'll see that everywhere at all different price points. So it can still look good if it doesn't cost as much. And then like I said, I love vintage and I love thrifting and I love a deal. So when I find something that looks great for really cheap, it's that dopamine hit that we talked about earlier. So I would just say you can look in all different kinds of stores and find great things. You can buy secondhand. A lot of my friends like to go to a Goodwill like on a Sunday and just like dig through everything. So yeah, just anywhere you can go, the trends are there, the pieces are there.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing some very helpful tips and insights about how someone living with MS can still find ways to enhance their personal style. What would you say is the top takeaway that you'd like our viewers to remember and to use?
I would say just be yourself and do what makes you happy and don't feel pressured by what you see online or, what friends and family tell you to wear. Wear what you like, what you feel good in. I think anything, I always say lean into the sunshine. It's like something I think about. Like I just double down on what works. I don't try to, change something that's not broke. So figure out, what you feel you're best in and then just stick to that. And if you want to evolve it over time, that's great, but it's when you feel comfortable.
Well, thanks for being with us today, Jeri.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is my first podcast, so hopefully I did okay.
You were great.
Thank you.
Today's program survey has now been posted in the chat for your feedback. Please take a minute and complete it to help us create programs and topics with you in mind. Please be sure to visit the Society's website for information and resources on MS, connection opportunities, and ways for you to get involved. You can also connect with an MS Navigator to receive personalized support by phone, email, or through the Society's website by chat. A recording of today's program will be posted on the MS Society's website at nationalmssociety.org/MSexpert, as well as on Facebook and YouTube. Finally, I'll invite you to join me each week for the Real Talk MS podcast, where we continue the conversation that we start here. You can find Real Talk MS on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Thanks for joining Ask an MS Expert. We'll see you next week.